Hey guys, did you know that 66% of men lose their hair by age 35? And the thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late. It's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair you've lost. Why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing at all when they can turn to medicine and science? Go to 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known generic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions that are backed by science. There's no waiting room, no awkward doctor visits, and you save hours by going to 4hims.com. It's so easy. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/ATH. That's FORHIMS.com/ATH. 4hims.com/ATH.
Mina is KB Frank. That's what I call a phenomenal Friday foursome. Let's finish the week strong. Today, a little more conversation, a little less action, a little movement on the mellow front, and a little more help for Russ and PG. A lot more LeBron in the middle, maybe. More money, more problems. And has an umpire ever gotten a check swing call more wrong? Make that umpires. Let's go around the horn.
Clear as day to me. He held up like a ball.
Seriously,
ball two.
I'm not one to talk when it comes to brain cramps. Man.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter.
Going around in circles has gotten us pretty much back to square one as the NFL pumps the brakes on its protest policy after the Dolphins submitted paperwork to the league listing potential discipline for protests during the anthem, which of course did not go over well. The league announced that no rules related to the anthem would be issued nor enforced for the next several weeks while discussions continue with the players. KB, is this a wise decision to press pause?
No, it's not a wise decision to press pause. What would be a wise decision would be to call the whole thing off. This has gotten to be absolutely ridiculous. So instead of going through what they decided they thought they were going to go through just a few weeks ago, now they're going to go through it maybe a few weeks later after consulting with the NFLPA. Look, here's the problem, and I'm going to point to the players on this because I know a lot of people like to point to the league and the owners. But the players need to understand that protest is not negotiable. The problems that promulgate protest is what is negotiable. So you all continue to do what you want to do. The league be damned.
Well said. Frank, get in there.
Well, this is all getting lost because this is all we talk about is whether or not they're going to protest. And it comes down to the owners saying, no, you won't. The players saying, yes, we will. Don't dare us. It's amazing. This week in baseball, the conversation is about Mike Trout and whether or not he's marketed right. And in basketball, of course, it's Kawhi Leonard. And in the NFL, it's always about this. They can't get out of their own way when it comes to this situation. It's amazing.
Mina?
The right move would have been back in May to do literally nothing because the controversy around the protests, not the underlying issues, which is racial inequality and justice, were dying down. The media had moved on, but the owners, in all of their wisdom, decided to act unilaterally, and that's the key here, and change the rule. And now it's blowing up in their faces, unsurprisingly. It's right for them to freeze it because I think they're learning that you can't please anyone on this. The protests do anger some fans, but overreacting to the protests, punishing the players, silencing them, angers other fans. Now I think the best thing they can do is to do what they should have done in the first place, which is consult with the players, try to find them a way to give them a voice and to minimize damage of what they've already done.
Izzy.
Yeah, they do need to have conversations. I don't think they need to do nothing, and here's why. From both sides, there needs to be some sort of compromise. From the owner's perspective, we all know what it is. We want you to hear our message. We want you to listen. We want you to allow us to get our message out and hopefully inspire change. But what the players are also maybe not understanding is that a lot of this has been lost in the conversation because the whole purpose has been hijacked, and everything is about the flag and the anthem and not what we're actually discussing, right, as Mina mentioned. So if there is a better way to refocus the conversation to where maybe the league can help out more than they even are, and the players can actually say, hey, you know what, we won't do this and won't create this secondary problem. We'll focus on the main problem if people will allow us to. And maybe there is no compromise there. And maybe they do want to be stubborn and do it this way. That's fine, but at least have that conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, KB. Where is the middle ground, if any, here?
I don't think there is any middle ground. These are not natural allies. The players, 70% of whom are black, and the owners who are billionaires and have their interest elsewhere. These are not natural allies, and so I don't think there is any middle ground. This is now a fight, and the players have to engage it just as the owners have.
Frank, do you see room for compromise?
I don't think there's going to be any room for compromise. The owners don't want the players to kneel, and I think what's going to happen is there will still be players that are going to do it. And I think what's going to get lost, like everybody talks about, it's not any issue, it's whether or not the players are kneeling during the national anthem.
Nina, last word?
Well, there already was a partnership, right, that the league formed with the players. They've invested money. But here's what needs to happen. They need to give them a voice on the field, on Sundays. Maybe not during the anthem, but that's how they can amplify the issues they want us to talk about.
You notice a pattern here? Frank used the word dare earlier. Every time a Bob McNair, Jerry Jones, a Donald Trump, or anybody else decides to speak about it, it becomes an issue. Not that many players were protesting by the end of the season, and not that many were probably going to protest Jarrell Casey aside from the Titans coming up. But yet every time they try to prove a point and say, no, you're going to follow our rules, we're going to challenge you, that's when the players respond. So as you guys all said, get out of your own way. Meanwhile, north of the border, Raptors president Masai Ujiri apologizing today to DeMar DeRozan.
I had a conversation with DeMar at Summer League, and I really want to leave it at that. I think maybe my mistake was talking about what we expected going forward from him. So not necessarily talking about trade, but what I expect from him going forward, and I think that's where the gap was.
Judging by this Instagram story post earlier, DeRozan didn't seem to be buying what Masai was selling. Does he owe DeMar an apology, Izzy?
I don't think he owes DeMar an apology for trading him. I think he could offer him an apology like this. He could say, hey, I'm sorry it didn't work out for us. I'm sorry the playoffs ended the way they did for you. I'm sorry you committed to us as a franchise, as a city, as a country even, and we have to move your way to better ourselves. But in terms of apologizing for trading him, no, if indeed, as he says there, he did not say we're not going to trade you, he was just talking about the future of the organization, then he doesn't owe him an apology for trading him. I totally understand DeMar's take on this, and I think he's more upset about, again, being shipped off from the franchise and the city that he dedicated himself to, not because he's a Spur, not because he's playing in the States again. So I do think he could say some of those things, and I think Ujiri handled it pretty well.
Yeah, he'd be upset regardless of how it was handled, I imagine, Mina Kimes.
I would have found his explanation a little more believable if he didn't wipe his brow, 30 times. He was sweating a little bit there. I do think he owes him an apology, not as a basketball executive, but as a human being. Because as a basketball executive, he made the right decision for the team. But as a human being, he knows this is a relationship-driven league. And other players notice, when stars like DeMar DeRozan get angry, when they feel misled. And it'll help him down the road to show that he's a decent person, in the meantime.
It's hard enough getting free agents to Toronto anyway, Frank, so maybe the apology, to Mina's point, is good business.
Yeah, well, you know what? He did open the press conference by apologizing to DeMar DeRozan, and he used the expression communication gap. So I tend to think Masai's in a position, it doesn't do him any good to say, DeMar's not telling you the truth. I never said that we wouldn't trade him. So if you're Masai Ujiri, you're kind of worried about your organization, and it doesn't make sense to go after a very popular player. I still tend to doubt that Masai told him, under no circumstances are we trading you?
Right.
And I think you saw that today by the way he answered those questions.
Yeah, why would he do that, KB? You lose control of the message once it leaves your mouth. It's in the hands of the person to interpret it. Why would he say, I'm not going to trade you?
Yeah, exactly. You got to just be straight up in this situation. But, too many general managers in this league are mealy-mouthed, and you talk to them on the phone or you talk to them after a game, and they don't really give you the straight truth. And you would hope that he would be cutting a new path for GMs in this league and really speak the truth. And you can see that at DeMar, as you pointed out, a guy who had dedicated himself to Toronto, really thought that he was owed a little bit more information about what his future was going to be. He didn't get it, and so that's why I think he's doing an apology.
But at the end of the day, Izzy, sometimes, even if you're not really in the wrong, it's nice to apologize, but ultimately, you got Kawhi Leonard, top 5 player, nothing to apologize for, right, Izzy?
Yeah, nothing to apologize for that. And actually, if you just look at the situation, even if you are DeMar, man, you're just coming off of a disappointing ending in the playoffs again. You didn't perform that well in the playoffs again. You fired your coach who was coach of the year, and now why wouldn't you think you were on the table for some sort of improvement? And unless DeMar DeRozan is a little bit delusional and thinks that Kawhi Leonard is not a slight improvement from him, then maybe he needs to watch some of those defensive tapes of him versus Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi's a better defender by far.
Frank, give me the Godfather reference one more time, Frank.
This is the business we've chosen. That's why he has to know you can get traded any time. Come on.
All right. Let's talk Lakers lineups, in particular their version of the death lineup. That's funny. I'm going to try not to laugh through this. That's not me. That's a quote from a Lakers exec to Bleacher Report. Quote, "We may not see this day one, but we're eager to see our version of the Warriors' death lineup with Lonzo, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and LeBron." Close quote. Setting aside the disrespect to the actual death lineup, Frank Isola, is a lot of LeBron at the 5 a legit lineup for L.A.?
It absolutely is, because it's LeBron James. I'll put him with any 4 players in the league, including
the 4 y'all,
McGee and Lance Stevenson, and it's going to be good. But the difference is, when you're comparing that lineup to Golden State, think about what you have in Golden State. Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, accomplished players. The other 4 guys, not accomplished. They have a long way to go to catch up to Golden State and to catch up to LeBron.
Mina?
I'm going to call this the life support lineup, because it feels like they're compensating for some serious deficiencies in the roster. You know, after LeBron signed there, we heard, we don't have a lot of shooters, but it's because he's evolving his game. He wants to play more in the post. Now he's the center. You know, what's next with this team? Now, that said, I'm a little bit intrigued by seeing it. Dan Pavel at NBA Math pointed out that the Cavs did play LeBron as center a little bit, and when they did, they had something on an offensive efficiency rating of 146, which is insane. Small sample size, but I'd like to see it, at least in Los Angeles, a little bit.
That's the thing, Izzy. I mean, a little bit is one thing, but I mean, JaVale McGee is the best center right now. LeBron as a full-time center, like, there's 2 ends of the court. And he doesn't exactly have the rim protection or the defensive prowess at this point in his career that a Draymond Green does to actually make a death lineup go.
Agreed. And, Mike, you remember when LeBron was saying in Miami, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6 championships? That was a less egregious overstatement than calling this a death lineup, okay? This is LeBron James and 4 other guys, all right? And those 4 other guys can switch on defense, sure, but none of them can shoot like Steph or Klay. None of them is as versatile as KD. It would require still LeBron James doing everything that Draymond Green does, and then everything that KD does as well. And that's way too much to ask of one person, especially at this age. So do I think that that group can defend the Warriors? Well, sure. Do I think that that group can sort of flummox a couple other teams and say, hey, what do we do when LeBron's at the 5? Do we have to go small? But I don't think LeBron would be on board with that a lot. If it's fine to match up with the Warriors, if that's your best lineup, cool. I don't think he'd be cool with it a lot against other bigs. And, yeah, I don't know if you could even come. And I'm pretty sure LeBron is saying, hey, unnamed Laker executive, zip your mouth. That's a lot of pressure on me.
Mina called it the life support lineup. I mean, I'll go closer to the long nap lineup. What are you calling it, KB? What kind of lineup is this for the Lakers?
This may be a coach killer lineup if you're going to go death. Only reason is because this is LeBron's tallest task. He has never inherited or gone to a team that has as few of accomplished players as this Lakers lineup. Now, these guys are very talented. They're very young. They may someday be really, really good, but there's no D Wade on this team. There's no Kyrie Irving. There's no Kevin Love. He's got to work with these guys. So I just take this as entertainment right now.
Frank, you're good for one-liners. Give us a name for this lineup with LeBron at center in L.A.
I'm going to call it the Cleveland Lakers because they thought they were getting maybe Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. That's who they wanted in that lineup.
Look at this lineup, man. Y'all putting up some numbers. Me running point, facilitating. Y'all knocking them down. That's the horn. Buy or sell is next.
Yeah. Check Mike's assist.
Ow. Yep, you guessed it. I'm a speed bump, so I've got one job. I slow you down. So imagine how I feel about Geico, who does way more. Like, not only could they save you money on car insurance, but they've been around for over 75 years, giving people fast and friendly claim service. Ow. Plus, they got a nifty mobile app that gives you 24/7 access. Ow. Just doing my job, buddy.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Buy or sell.
Buy or sell. Let's talk about money. As a handful of D1 schools explore ways to cash in on legalized college sports betting, i.e. an integrity fee. Clutch your collective pearls, boys and girls, at the thought of student athletes being exploited for financial gain. The NCAA has assembled a team of experts to examine the long-term effects of legal gambling in college sports. Buy or sell the idea of an integrity fee with the NCAA, Mina?
I just have to smile because integrity fee is an all-time euphemism that's up there with alternative facts because, as you just said, Michael, this is a cash grab. Every league, forget the NCAA, was against gambling until they were for it, and they were for it because they realized they could make money off of it. It's hypocritical all around, but the hypocrisy is confounded in the NCAA because, as we all know, the kids playing will never get any of this money, which is why many of them are extra vulnerable to, the effects of gambling.
Izzy?
You know how they'll be less vulnerable to those effects if they take the integrity fee and pay the players with it. That way they don't have to gamble. That way they don't have to do anything shady behind the scenes. That's pretty much all I care about if the NCAA decides to allow this to happen. See if they can find a way. They get more money, give it to the kids that deserve it.
KB?
Here. I mean, I'm not for anything that the NCAA is for, which means they get more money, and the laborers whose blood and sweat they make all their money off of get nothing. So this is absolutely a joke. It should be called the disingenuous fee.
Right.
Yeah, not surprising that the colleges want to cut. But as we know, we're talking about basketball and football. And for these high-profile programs, they bring somebody in before every season and talk about gambling and point shaving. The players they understand it's a felony. You do that, you can get thrown in jail. So I'm not too worried about that.
All right. Now, if anybody was going to get something in return for Melo, it was Sam Presti, right? Dennis Schroeder and his career-high 19 points per game for the Hawks last season to OKC to bolster the Thunder bench. Melo to Atlanta, where he'll be waived and free to sign with Houston, maybe Miami. Izzy, buy or sell a winner in this trade?
Oh, I'm sorry. Melo gets to keep every dime of his ridiculous contract, and he's probably going to start for a Western Conference contender who happens to have Chris Paul as their point guard. Winner, Carmelo. That's decided.
KB? Winner in this trade?
They're actually all winners in this. Obviously, Carmelo for those reasons. Atlanta because they got to clear a lot of money off the books so that they can be in the free agent race. And you know who else? OKC, because they get a guy in Father MC who's just 24 years old and can fill up the points column.
And they saved $70 million, Frank.
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony's the big winner, though. He's getting all his money. I love the fact that as of this moment, he's teammates once again with Jeremy Lin. And pretty soon he's going to go to the Rockets and he's going to be reunited with Mike D'Antoni. You wanted the Godfather reference? Carmelo's about to settle all family business pretty soon.
It all goes back to New York for Frank Isola. Good job connecting those guys. Mina.
Oh, well, the top winner, as everyone has said, is Carmelo Anthony, the finesse king. The next winner, I guess I would go Atlanta over Oklahoma City, just for a number of reasons. They wanted to get rid of Schroeder. They got rid of him. They have cash to spend. And now, as Kevin pointed out, they have cap space in 2019. They can enter the free agency Thunderdome with some money to spend. For a rebuilding team, I think they're probably the best positioned when this is all said and done.
All right. Charles Barkley with some advice on how to beat the Warriors. For starters, stop trying to be the Warriors. Barkley says, unless you have Steph, KD, and Clay, it's useless trying to go small and beat Golden State shooting threes, whereas teams will be better off playing big. Buy or sell Barkley's advice to the rest of the league, Frank Isola?
Well, I think he's right to a certain extent, but remember, Houston last year had a double-digit lead in both Game 6 and in Game 7 without Chris Paul. They almost won that, but guess what? Golden State added a big man. They have DeMarcus Cousins. They can play big as well.
Mina?
I think there's some validity there because people will say, well, Houston shoots a lot of threes, but they played a totally different style, and they forced the Warriors into that style, forced them to slow down, forced them into more ISOs. Other teams, I think, should look at that and take a lesson from the Rockets playbook.
Izzy?
Yeah, the Warriors have pretty much perfected the modern game, and that's fine if you want to counter that with going big, but you're going to need 5 Anthony Davises, and there aren't that many out there.
KB?
Well, even if Charles Barkley has a smart analysis on this situation, I would feel dumber by agreeing with him. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction.
Cold-blooded KB.
Shots.
Were you point shaving just now? I mean, you started off so strong, and all of a sudden you and Mina got to go. Frank Isola, Israel Gutierrez. Let's go to Showdown, shall we? See y'all in a minute. Longtime Steeler and Patriot for a hot minute, James Harrison praised the discipline of Bill Belichick's teams while pointing out what he believes is a lack thereof when it comes to Mike Tomlin's teams, calling Belichick, quote-unquote, by far the better coach. Izzy, is that fair of Harrison, or is he still just bitter about the way things ended in Pittsburgh?
It sounds like he's a little bit bitter because the comparison's entirely unnecessary. If you ask anybody who's the better coach, Belichick or Tomlin, they'll look at the results and say, hey, it's probably Belichick. He's done more with less, and it feels like Mike Tomlin's teams seem to underachieve.
Yeah, for my money, Bill Belichick is the best coach in the league. But guess what? Danny Amendola is down in Miami talking about Adam Gase. He's like one of the guys. There's too much discipline in New England. So guess what? Not every coach is for every player, but they're two great coaches.
I just don't understand the constant comparison between these two coaches in particular. Why is Mike Tomlin always held up to Bill Belichick as if Tomlin's not damn good on his own the way he does things? Between March and May, no player in the NFL sold more official merchandise than... Anyone?
Tom Brady.
Nick Foles, close. The Super Bowl MVP, again beat out Tom Brady, as well as Carson Wentz for the top spot. But back to the bench goes Foles. So, Frank, if you were Nick Foles, would you be bummed that you're a backup with the best-selling jersey?
Yeah, I'm going to be bummed because the competitor in me wants to play, and he's going to show up for training camp in his number 9 authentic jersey, ready to play. This
authentic jersey.
He is loving life right now and should just soak in all the adoration. He just won a Super Bowl. He's the backup quarterback who everybody always loves anyway, and everybody's buying his jerseys. I love being Nick Foles.
There's being the most popular guy in town, and then there's being Nick Foles these days. The best story in the league keeps getting better. All right, check out the worst check swing call you will ever see. This from a Mexican League game on Wednesday. Home plate and first base umpires with the simultaneous brain cramps. Both guys suspended for the remainder of the 2018 season. That's it? You mean they actually get to ump again in this life? Izzy, is that enough of a penalty for one of the most egregious calls you'll ever see?
Probably not, but I just need to know what actually happened here. There has to be more of a backstory. It was the second pitch of the game, so you know they weren't asleep with their eyes closed. Maybe they were a little inebriated. I don't know what happened, but I want to know. 1
is an honest mistake. 2 is a conspiracy. Something's going on there. Let's check everybody's bank statement. Somebody got some money for that one. How did you not see that wasn't a strike? Come on.
And there's some integrity fees involved, Frank Isola? Maybe. All right. Izzy, get to the bottom of it. I think they were drunk.
So I wanted to mention Nebraska rehiring a former Cornhusker named Ron Brown to run their life skills program. Ron Brown is very much anti-LGBT. He's even testified as much in court. And the problem with that is if you're going to be teaching life skills for others, that is a macroaggression, okay? That is something that other people may either struggling with their sexuality or closeted are saying, wow, if they're hiring somebody who's so LGBT, that's really going to hurt me and it's going to really mess with them. And so I think if you have, as Eric Lucien put it, another former Cornhusker, a diversity of thought, and he comes in here open-minded with his life skills program, then I think that's fine. But Nebraska has to at least mention it at some point.
All right, that's FaceTime well spent, Israel Gutierrez. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for coming around. 71.5-hour break. You got to put up with me next week. In the meantime, shout out to Maryland's 2018 Sports Entertainment Business Program.
All right.
We'll see y'all later. Hey, good run, y'all. It's my death lineup right here.